It's cloudy. I've been gone for a while. This doll was actually supposed to be done for mermaid, but life happened, as it often does. This project was a lot of work and took longer than I expected. You can even tell by how much my nails changed in the footage. On top of that, I finally got a job and then went on a trip, and everything got postponed further. Anyway, I had this wonky Laguna doll that I really wanted to turn into a mermaid, but not a classic, beautiful, half human mermaid, more of an ethereal sea creature. I started with cutting off her legs below the knees and shortening the neck peg. Then I removed the factory paint from the face, hands, and forearms. She was a bit stained, so initially I was worried, but it wasn't a problem in the end. Off camera, I created a base for the tail using a wire, aluminum foil, and copious amounts of hot glue. I sculpted the tail on top of it with epoxy putty. I also sanded the torso and sculpted gills on both sides of the neck. I sanded both the tail and the gills to perfect the shape a bit more and moved on to sculpting scales. This was a whole endeavor. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that it took me 5 whole days, and I binged all 3 seasons of Avatar Aang while sculpting. I mixed the paint color as close to the base plastic as I could and painted over the torso, starting from the gills since they were white. After that, I mixed an off white greenish color and painted the tail. Next, it was time for body blushing with soft pastels. I sanded the hands and forearms and used light turquoise pastels similar to the color of the torso on the joints. I was trying to blend in the visible joint pieces while keeping the translucency of the plastic. I began adding shadows and highlights all over the body with dark turquoise and white. I built up the colors over a few layers of Mr. Super Clear. I also put light washes of colors all over the tail. I used light turquoise, blue, pink, and purple. I added details to the gills off camera. At this point, I wanted to put the head back on, but the neck peg was still too big and the neck cracked, so I had to fix it with epoxy putty and color it again with paint and soft pastels. I also shortened the neck peg further. Next, I sketched out patterns on the torso, arms, and the core of the tail fin. Later on, I painted these patterns with very dark navy blue paint. While doing that, I also realized that I have to invest in some new paints because most of mine were really old and hard to work with. I mixed a few colors of pearly pigments which I added to the body and sprayed it with Mr. Super Clear one last time. After this, I used a no-wipe UV nail top coat on the tail. Then I wiped a couple of chrome nail powders all over the tail, matching the colors to the soft pastels underneath. I sealed them with a second layer of the nail top coat. Honestly, my camera doesn't even pick up the full spectrum of the colors on the tail. It's a bit better in the vertical footage, but it looks a lot cooler in real life. I cut out a fin out of this iridescent plastic I bought years ago. Then I covered it in the UV top coat to strengthen it. Then I put the top coat on the fins on the forearms as well as the membranes between the fingers to make them look more transparent and glossy. I added a second pattern on the torso, arms, and the forearms with shiny silver paint. I cut out small circles from the same iridescent plastic I used for the fin to make boob coverings and covered them in the UV top coat to make them more dome-like and make sure they don't fall off. Little ASMR moment incoming. At this point, I successfully reattached the head and moved on to working on the face. At first, I used soft pastels to match the base color to the torso a bit more as the head was a bit yellowed. Then I worked on building the highlights and shadows just like on the body. I sketched out the eye shape off camera and worked on the light purple eyeshadow. I also added light pink pastels to the lips. In the middle of that, I sketched out the eyelashes as well. I used the same navy blue paint as for the patterns on the body for the whites of the eyes and added dots on the sides of the face. I made a stain on the brow bone, but I knew it was going to get covered up later, so it wasn't a big deal. I used a light blue paint for the irises. I added the pupil shape with darker blue paint. I used the lightest blue paint to add a highlight at the bottom of the irises. I added white catchlights off camera and moved on to painting the eyelashes with light gray. Later on, I also added smaller dark gray lines for contrast. I added the same pearly pigments as for the body, focusing more on the high points of the face and sprayed it with Mr. Super Clear for the last time. Then a problem appeared. I wanted to add silver highlights to the eyes, but I ended up hating it. I tried to gently take it off the one eye with a bit of alcohol and I ruined it. So I had to paint over it again. While doing that, I added silver dots to the eyelashes and silver patterns to the forehead. Lastly, I put a gloss varnish on the eyes and lips. I glued these plastic half pearls to the face in place of eyebrows. Off camera, I glued more of them to the torso as well. Off camera, I made hair wefts from 3 different colors of acrylic yarn, a cold pink and 2 shades of gray. I glued 3 rows of wefts to the back of the head and braided them, and between the rows I painted the sculpt with light pink paint. I glued the rest of the wefts and cut them into a bob, creating a jellyfish hairstyle. I glued some hair accessories off camera, and the doll was done.